They started building up on the hill, what we call the hill. The property is almost in half. There's this section over here with 4 bigger cabins, and Muriel called it the Avenue, kind of like Fifth Avenue, because they're fancier. They're a little bit bigger. Up on the hill, it started out with I'm not going to do that to you folks. It started out with a kit cabin that came from Montgomery Ward, and according to Lucille, it came in on the train and was put together with hooks and eyes. That's how it was assembled. And she thought it was a Sears cabin, but I ended up doing the roof of it a few years ago, found out it came from Montgomery Ward, and that's how it started. Good morning. You're welcome. Come on in, find a seat. My name's Art.
Hi, Art.
I'm the president of Davis Cabins. My joke is.
I know everybody here.
Yeah.
Hey, have a seat right here.
Over there.
Hey Art, I just started recording you. Is
Yeah.
it okay if I record you and
Yeah, sure.
save it at the Historical
No, it's
Society?
fine. It's fine.
Okay.
Need
I
sunglasses on.
don't have a problem
Good
with that
morning.
at all. Yeah, my standing joke is that my brother was a general in the National Guard, but I'm the president. So, so where was I? Back to the first cabin up on the hill. Cabin A1 is what it was called. And they expanded over the hill and built a number of different ones there. And also during that time, it was like around World War II or the end of that. Adelaide, the daughter, was married to Bill Slater, and the two of them, along with Lucille and Howard Baker, bought the old Birch Grove Dance Hall, and they were the ones that put the cabins in there, and Lucille claims that she came up with the name Wild Goose for it. So there was that point in time where they owned that business also, along with the cabin business. So they ran that for a number of years, and eventually ended up having to sell it to a man named Orig, if I've got it right. And forgive me, you folks, I'm a bit intimidated because I know that you guys have a little bit of knowledge about the history of Newbury, and if I get something wrong, please feel free to correct me. I don't want to be disseminating misinformation at all. So yeah, they had Wild Goose, and you know the center of Wild Goose there was a big pine grove. I've got a picture here, I believe. Yes, when it first started, Lucille's ended up planting a bunch of the trees that were in that pine grove, and right now a lot of them have met their life and have fallen over. But that's where it initially came from.
Question, Art.
Yeah.
I've heard that some of the dance halls in the area had springing floors to make it, or do you have any knowledge whether Wild Goose had that?
It might have, but I think the first section, if I remember it right, closest to like the center there,
Yeah.
I believe that was a concrete slab, if I remember it right. And farther out, where the hotel rooms were, was wooden.
Oh, thank you.
And
Was that
again,
the
you
dance
know,
hall
my
right
Yeah,
memory.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember my mom telling me.
I
she
came
was
here
there.
at the
Yeah.
very end of Wild Goose, just after it got auctioned off to the state.
What year?
I believe it was 90. It was somewhere between like 95 and 98, and that I think it went for somewhere around $700,000. That piece of property plus the 103 acres on the other side of Route 103.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
At that point, before the state bought it at auction, it was owned, as I understand it, by a developer who wanted to put houses up there and make a common entrance on the other side of 103 and have a common area out of Wild Goose. he had a couple of other projects around the area and was kind of unsuccessful, and that's why it went up for auction.
Wow.
So where am I?
So that's why we spent all that time down in Concord, right? Fighting things because.
Yeah, so that's the other chapter of Wild Goose, was that Norman Doe, the fish and game director at a few years back, had a vision of fulfilling the law of providing a boat launch for free for the fishermen or the public in general on Lake Sunapee because it meets a certain standard of size. We ended up fighting that tooth and nail.
And so did we.
Yeah, and we appreciate all the support because we were deathly afraid of what would happen if it did go through being open and only supervised by the fish and game officer in the area. My favorite quote was that, Norman Doe said that the cribs that used to have the wharf for the steamship to be hauled out on, I'm like, are you going to leave those cribs there? Because I have a picture of myself standing on them in knee-deep water. And I'm like, people are going to launch their boats and bounce off of these things. He's like, well, I'd like to move them, but I can't because they're historical underwater landmarks. And I'm like, okay, that's my in. If you ever build this boat launch, I'm going to get myself a bob house and put stakes on the outside and buy a whole bunch of propellers because that's what I'm going to do, sell to the public as props whenever they ram their boats into those cribs. So that's that. Fortunately, we got a lot of help from a lot of people. We also rallied our guests to write the Senate and send in emails about their stories in this place. And I believe we had them copy them to us, and we got over like 100 responses. And I think that had some bearing on having the project stop. There was also the commission that Sununu put together that he kind of stacked in, forgive me, our favor. I'm biased, I admit it.
But there was a lot of stuff. It's a dangerous road. LSPA was very supportive of you.
Yes.
Town residents were writing in. There was a big push to have it.
And I am eternally grateful.
Wasn't it all
And the state
protected?
didn't have any money.
Yeah, that was another thing.
Yeah.
I mean, my heart goes out to the because I on Facebook I have followed other people and boating on Lake Sunapee. Well, where's a good place to put my boat in? How about the State Beach? State Beach is tough. It's shallow, and Sunapee Harbor is difficult. George's Mills, there's not any parking. Blodgett's, it's very shallow, and so I understand their frustration, and I feel bad, but I also don't think that this was the best solution either. But I'm digressing onto that. Going back to the cabins, in the 40s or so, or the 50s, the property line for the cabins was about this walkway. And the rest of the property there still was owned by the Boston and Maine Railroad. And fortunately, Everett was able to buy it and expand. Some of the original pictures show the what we call the big house. I mean, everybody usually refers to the big house as a prison, but we don't. we call it the big house, and it has a very much different connotation. It initially did not have this part of the boathouse with it, and the porch here was actually open. And there's our famous picture of Mindwell Bugsby Davis, which was Everett's mom, who was kind of the resources and the support to start his being here. There's a picture of her on that corner of the porch with it being open, kind of facing that way, and I call it the Whistler's mother picture because she's in a rocking chair. So where am I? Back to the purchase of the railroad property, it allowed Everett to build these 4 cottages, which were a little bit bigger, and 3 of them have fireplaces. They all have like 2 bedrooms or so, and the last one was built in like the mid 50s or so, cabin 18. We also had a cabin 17 at one point in time, which I think came about from or around the time the widening of Route 103, because cabin 17 was on the other side of the road, actually where my new house is now. And it belonged at one point, I believe, to Hattie Sawtell, who used to sell candies and drinks to the people coming off the train. And that eventually came into Everett's possession, and he ended up giving it to Lucille. The business was formed as an S corporation in 1933. So that's why I get to be the president of the corporation. And it's made up of 150 shares, and at that point in time, Everett left the majority controlling amount of shares to Muriel, because she was the primary sibling running it, and then divided the rest of it up between the other 3 siblings in equal parts. Now it's been handed down from Muriel to my wife Joan, and also her sister Allison, and then the rest of the shares have been given off to 11 cousins, forgive me for not having the exact number. They have been very supportive of us. We have a annual meeting every year on the 4th of July, where basically we talk about the state of things and how we're doing. They've been very kind and supportive as far as letting us keep our profits and turn them back into the business. My favorite expression is that I try to keep the cabins standing up faster than they fall down. Basically, I do the majority, if not all, of the maintenance. I'm finally resigned a little bit. We just got a new roof on this section of the big house a couple weeks ago. From what I did that 30 years ago prior to this. I've decided that I'm not going to do pump jacks anymore and carry bundles of shingles on roofs. We've been able to get beyond that. Couple of things that I'm really grateful for is that Everett and Florence, the couple that started here, I'll pass this around. Everett was really good about keeping records for the most part, and there's a lot of things that got saved by him. And Joan went through the office during COVID and found a couple of gems. One of them I want to share with you here is his diary from, just read a couple of entries. This is Wednesday the 4th of July. Started the steam pump today to pump water. Had a big bonfire at the camp this evening. Mr. Hancock's, Mrs. Coleman, and family being present. And the other thing that I like about this is that it's written in like ink pen. And a very, if you notice, a lot of people had really good handwriting compared to most of us doctors today who kind of scribble things down. Forgive me if
So Mr. Hancock's would have been the one that lived in the yellow house.
down the road, yes.
And next door to him were the Colemans, the
Right.
two Coleman brothers.
Yes.
So one of the brothers came.
Okay, as far as his entry says, yes.
What year is that?
Mrs. Coleman
Mrs. Coleman came.
and family. So I'm grateful that he left this little diary so that we could get a little snapshot of that time. The
And
next,
What year was that? What year?
this was 1906.
Oh, my.
Yeah, a little while ago, right? The other interesting entry was Thursday, the 5th of July, the next day. The Armenia White made her first trip of the season today, is his entry. So I find it quite interesting that we get little glimpses of what his life was like. I'm gonna skip ahead to like Saturday the 8th. Went up to the harbor on the Kearsarge with Captain Flanders this PM. Took supper at Osborne's, returning on the Ascutney. So, you know, he traveled by steamship quite a bit, and there's other entries in here where he mentions which train number he rides and where he goes. There's also a couple references to him going to Boston or up to Claremont, and he always mentions going to church on Sunday and then reading the paper afterwards as a frequent entry. So I'm extremely grateful that he was a very good documentarian that way. Another record we found, or Joan found, was this that belonged to the railroad, and it was issues that people had that they would complain to the different railroad agents. One of them was that they left their polka dotted pajamas here in the cabins at one point in time. Another person was wondering why their 2 cases of beer didn't show up. This one, on August 9th, 1910, Mr. W.F. Ray, Superintendent, Concord, New Hampshire. Dear Sir, replying to your reference to penny slot machines in the toilet rooms, beg to advise that we have 2 toilet rooms with 2 toilets in each. Recommend we are not provided with machines. We use about 12 rolls of paper per month and would require 2 machines to equip the station. Apparently there was slot machines that you could get, and we weren't about to do that here. So there's all sorts of little complaints and issues that he ended up dealing with.
Can that be preserved somehow?
Where else can I go? We also were part of the privilege of being a part of the tour boat family. And the steamships we also were a part of. Here's the ticket booth. I forget what I got a second one there. I'll pass it around.
Art, do you have these files electronically?
Excuse me?
Do you have these files electronically?
I don't.
Don't, okay.
We can help you with that.
Okay.
We'd love to preserve them.
Yeah. So this picture, if I could hold it up for just a moment, is the ticket for the steamships. And we donated this to the Newbury Historical Society. And they're little tiny tickets that you could pull out from underneath, and each one of them it's on a slope and has a marble on the back of it to push them forward as you pull them down. So you could pass that around.
That's wonderful. I've never seen this.
Yeah. We're fortunate enough, we kept a couple extras. I have a bunch of documents and stuff in the rec room here that I want to show you folks when I'm done rattling on.
They all say where they're going to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The different stops around the lake. Here's a photo of the big house, as I like to call it, prior to the boathouse being added to it. Pass that around also. We were the launching spot of the original, or the first Mount Sunapee tour boat. which was at one point a rum runner, and then got used by the Navy in World War II, if I remember correctly, and eventually was brought here, and the McGrath family were the last owners of it. Picture of it, docked in Sunapee.
Yeah, you're right.
It ended up in the side of the road in Guile, opposite almost when you get to Sanctuary Farm. It was on the other side of the road in the woods.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it actually, it used to spend the winters over by what we call our number 8 beach. The Marine Railway that was installed by the Woodson brothers hauled out the first Mount Sunapee, but also was originally used for the Kearsarge. And you sent out a picture in the email of it being like assembled on the railway. This is what it looked like during the winter out there, or when it was hauled up for the winter.
This is nice. I can remember my uncle bringing me there back in the 50s in the wintertime to see the boat.
Yeah. And Joan always remembers everybody screaming, "Get out of the way! Get away from the cable!" as the boats were getting hauled up. If it snaps, it'll rip your legs off. So forth. They used to have.
Show you how old it is. I worked on the tracks and the boat went off one time.
Oh yeah, to get it back on.
From McGrath.
Yeah. I remember Steve McGrath telling me a story about how the last spring that they launched that boat, it was leaking so bad, and the pumps couldn't keep up with it. And his dad's like, "Start the engine, we're gonna get out of here." They backed the boat up and ran it down to Newbury Harbor and ran it aground because it had dried out during the winter time. So it sat on the bottom, and the wood ended up swelling back up again, so it ended up being more watertight. But he didn't want to spend any extra time in the deep water out there, and so he ran it off that way. I believe that it ended up meeting its demise in like 66 or the mid 60s. They decided that it had seen its service life, and they were going to move on to a different boat. They took the engines out of it and stripped it of whatever they needed and wanted, and had it on the Marine Railway, and then slid it out onto the ice and burned it.
Oh, I don't remember that.
And just a few years ago, I found a bunch of nails and screws and so on and so forth. It turns out that there's still a section of it that's about 8 feet long or so that didn't quite burn all the way, and I hauled it out, and it's down on the beach over there, near the beach over there. I can show that to you later.